Campos.
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Here.
Commissioner Gandy.
Here.
And Mayor Trujillo.
Here.
Amen. So please bow your head. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you once again for being with us, doing this for your kindness. Father, we're asking you for your help this meeting. Help us do those things that are necessary, Lord, but that are good for our community. Father, we just want to thank you for allowing each one of us the privilege of serving in our city. As we come to this last meeting for this year, we just ask that you would help us to be able to continue the success we've had this year on into the next year, even for better things for our community. We just want you to help us as we ask these things, Lord, to bless those that are keeping us safe across the face of the world, our men and women in armed forces. Just want to thank you also for our people here, our police, our firemen, for the work that they do in keeping us safe. All of these things, Lord, we just want to give you the thanks for, and ask that you will bless each one in our efforts. In the name of Jesus, thy Son, we pray. Amen.
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 Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All right. Do you have a motion?
I make the motion. Consider the last meeting
Approve the agenda.
approved.
Do you have the motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Had motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to consider the minutes of November 26, 2018 for approval. Second.
Have motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Commissioner staff report, White.
Mayor and Commissioners, just give you a little update. Both projects for our water line extensions, one going out to our fire station 2 and one extending down to the new McDonald's, are moving along. They should be crossing, they're crossing the south side, digging the trench to come across D, and then they're going to block it off once they get the pipe in place and transfer over to the next side. One out on 17th Street is a 10-inch new line going all the way out to the fire station. 2 new fire plugs going on. That one should be digging the trench. They run into some really bad rock, so it's taking a little bit longer, but they're moving along on that one. Downtown, Ramirez and Sons, like I said, last commission meeting, week and a half to 2 weeks, with the snow and the moisture that came in, they're having to rework the material a little bit and get it ready for asphalt, but it's moving right along also.
Question by the board? Gary?
Mayor and Commissions, this coming Thursday, we're going to have our auditors here for, I call it the closing meeting for this particular audit. And they're going to request, I believe, 2 commissioners? Mayor and 1 commissioner to attend. It'll be at 9 a.m. this coming Thursday. So we can decide on who could make it. That would be wonderful.
Thank you. You're a big dark. Commissioner Santos, I think they
Where's the rest of the committee? So where are we supposed to meet?
here in the chamber, right?
Here?
Here in the conference room?
9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Call me to remind me. I'll be.
Any questions? Gary? Jalen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
yes.
do have
Go
a
ahead.
Thank you for that report from Municipal Court.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and the board appreciates that as well. Any other information you want to provide for that, regarding that?
No, sir. I really have, truthfully, the city manager to thank for a lot of his support in getting things to happen.
Very good. Thank you, James.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Gary. Jalen?
Nothing report, sir.
Anna?
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Well, once again, thank the city, all the employees, everyone that wonderful celebration we had at the youth center for our party. Appreciate the efforts of everyone, all the hard work. It was great. Even though I didn't win anything, it was good.
You ate a lot.
I ate. It was good.
I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and also a Happy New Year. I want to show my gratitude and thank everybody for your support and so forth with the city and so forth, as well as some of the audience that attend pretty much. So we really appreciate it. That's all I got. Mr. Cummings.
I just want to thank all the city employees, from James on down, the department heads, all the way down to the folks that do the work that goes unnoticed. James, if you would relay that to them and
Yes, sir.
advise them, we really, really do appreciate it. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. We wish them a Merry Christmas and happy and safe New Year, if you would, please. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Kent.
I'd like to apologize for missing the city function. I want to wish everyone in the community and the staff and the police department, fire department, a Merry Christmas, and I hope for a prosperous new year.
Chief.
Nothing to report, sir.
Chief.
Nothing to report, sir.
James.
Yes, sir. This Thursday at 11:30 to 1:30 at the Chaparral Building in our fairgrounds. They have the reception for Chairman Ron Black, Lee County. Also, the irrigation system at Harold Reynolds, that project is complete. Now we're working on the soil remediation and reseeding plan for it. In addition to that, the fence, the R-panel fencing that we're putting around the ball fields, if you want to see what the finished product looks like, Commercial Street actually got finished before Harold Reynolds. That was a call by George, just to make sure that our fencing crew didn't interfere with getting the irrigation project finished. Harold Reynolds will be the next field, but it does make a noticeable difference on that ball field. They're not quite done yet. They do need to put in some fill, dirt under the fence to take care of some of those gaps. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Patrick.
Nothing to report, sir.
Thank you. Great. We don't have the public comment. Would you like to wish or say anything? Wish for anything or like to say anything? Okay. Action items. Moving on to action item. We do. James.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a
I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion, approval ordinance number 564, amending Title II, Division 5, Chapter 2.84, Youth Center Board, and amending Chapter 2.9, Parks and Rec Board. Huh?
Additional amendment?
I don't. Yes, I do. Sorry. Brain's not working right. I'd like to amend to have a quarterly report from the Youth Center Board
And the folks.
and Parks and Rec.
I should have made that motion.
Sorry, you should have. But
I'll second
we
that.
talked about it. We forgot all about it.
All right, we got a motion second, also to amend it as well. James.
Yes, sir. So the changes that we gathered from our last meeting, when we got approval to advertise, were incorporated into this, where it would amend language in our youth center board, which establishes board appointments. The terms start on July 1st. Meetings are held once per quarter. There's recommended language changes in the powers and duties. Sets the youth advisory board elections in March to coincide with municipal elections, and also removes the inability to pay dues. The Parks and Rec Board amendments eliminates the youth center. I'm sorry, that is not, that is an incorrect slide, but the youth center board remains intact. However, it does change some of the language as far as the Parks and Recreation Division, and it removes one youth representative and replaces with one individual who resides within the city limits. Now, it's my understanding you would like to add language to the ordinance that would require reports by both of these boards on a quarterly basis to the city commission.
Yes, sir.
We would need to re-advertise the ordinance then. So it would be our recommendation now with this added language to vote no on the motion, and we will bring it back if so desired.
Would that be
in January? Yes, sir.
Should we just table it at this time?
No, because I think it would be safe to just have us re-advertise that. Just vote no on the resolution. We'll re-advertise it and have her vote at our first meeting in January.
Okay.
So all in favor?
No,
Or-
Just say, any opposed, maybe we'll all vote.
Right.
Yeah, all in favor, no opposed?
I'm opposed. I believe.
Arthur, you opposed it, right?
didn't we say no?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, so that was perfectly good. Okay. Noes have it. Moving on, do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 565, amending the housing production service agreement between the city and M&L Development LLC for completion of Phase 2 of the Sunrise Edition housing project.
Second.
Motion been made and second. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, as a reminder, this is just amending our housing production services agreement so that M&L Development can obtain their reimbursement. This just provides the amendment to where they have until June 30th to complete the project, which we don't anticipate them taking that long as they're on their last few homes.
Questions about that?
No, sir.
I'm ready.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, maybe we're on tack now. May I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of ordinance 566, creating Title II, Administration and Personnel Division 2, Municipal Officers, Chapters 2.40, Parks and Recreation Director.
Second?
And a motion second.
Mayor and Commissioners, what this ordinance does is it creates the Parks and Recreation Director who oversees our Parks and Recreation Division, which these are just some of the abbreviated responsibilities such as planning, budget, projects, operations, maintenance, overseeing that, having the respective departments report to them. This only creates the position in the code. This does not mean that we are going to hire this position. We've evaluated things and we don't even want to look at this until potentially the next fiscal year, but at this time we are not going to we do not want to fill the position. This just allows us to create it in our code as we decided back in 2015. We brought this to you as a result of the changes to the Youth Center Board and Parks and Recreation ordinance amendments that were initially proposed. And I would stand for any questions.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
James, so right now you recommend we don't hire anybody. Is that based on the current economic conditions or
Yes, sir.
forecast, or what are you basing that on?
Mayor and Commissioners, yes, that does. We believe that we are good from a revenue standpoint. Of course, as you all are aware, oil has dropped over the past month. It seems to have leveled out, but we just want to remain conservative and preserve those reserves. That sounds funny. We want to maintain our reserves at the level they are at, so that way, in the event there is a downturn, that we would be able to absorb it without an increase in expenditures.
I certainly appreciate you being conservative like that, James. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Sanchez, good? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do you have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make, go
Make
ahead.
a motion, resolution 218-123, approval to advertise an ordinance that will amend Title II,
Art,
Division
someone above
6,
that.
Chapter 292,
Art.
Personal Merit System of the Lovington Municipal Code.
Art, there's someone above that one.
Did I run?
Yeah, you.
Did I get one ahead of myself?
Yes.
Okay, let's try it.
122.
I make a motion that we consider resolution 218-122, authorizing the purchase of real property, lots 19 and 20, block 14, original town addition to the city of Lovington.
Second.
And a motion second, James?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, as part of our Magistrate Court Complex project, we are requesting approval of this resolution so we can acquire these two additional properties on Main Street. Currently, they're owned by the Smiths, who own Marshall Furniture. So both of these buildings right here are primarily used for storage as part of Marshall Furniture. Their offer that they accepted was $100,000 per property. And of course, these property expenditures will be reimbursable through the NMFA agreement that we'll have for the Magistrate Court Complex.
Any questions by the board?
Good.
Ken?
No, we're good. We're good.
You good?
You said you want 100,000 for each one?
Yes, sir. So it'll be a total of $200,000.
Have they been appraised?
They are, no, they have not. But roughly with the comps that we have, property in the downtown area usually goes for anywhere from $1 to $1.50 per foot. And this is the offer that they were willing to accept at this point after negotiations by our realtor. As far as the appraisal question, it would be different if we were selling the property. We would be required to have that appraisal and sell it for at least appraisal. But in this particular set of circumstances, this owner feels that the value that they're willing to accept is $100,000 per building.
So it's considerably less than what the appraisal would be, probably?
That is not known at this time.
Well, maybe we ought to have an appraisal. Okay.
Your recommendation at this time is to approve, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any other questions about? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have another motion?
Okay, we did this while ago, let's do it again.
It's a rough night already. It's a rough night already.
Make a resolution, we consider 218-123, approval to advertise an ordinance that will amend Title II, Division 6, Chapter 2.92, Personal Merit System of the Lovington Municipal Code.
Second.
Got a motion second, James.
Mayor, Commissioners, we are required to make some changes in order to remain compliant with two issues. The Affordable Care Act in regards to health insurance, as well as some of our grant requirements with our senior citizens program. Right now, through the Affordable Care Act, if an employee works 30 hours or more per week, we are, as an employer who has more than 50 employees, are required to offer them health insurance coverage. So what we have in our city code is a classified employee. Even though they're part-time, we have classified part-time employees, which what that means is they work a regular schedule. So that is no more than 40 hours per week, however, 30 hours per week. So they would come in and let's just say they work 6 days a week. They would work 5 hours a day, Monday through Saturday. They would be classified. They have a regular schedule. Unlike our summer help that we have, or even individuals that are theater, they work irregular schedules. However, I have some supplemental information on this. Also, part of our grant requirements is with the Senior Citizens Center is that we are required to offer them paid sick leave. This is part of the federal program. And in addition to that, we have the classified part-time employees. If they work that regular schedule, for instance, we have Christmas coming up, and if normally on Mondays they work 5 hours a day, but it's a city holiday, really they should be paid for that, just like a regular full-time employee that works 40 hours per week. So with the health insurance question, the language would actually be changed to reflect that a classified part-time employee works a minimum of 20 hours, but less than 40 hours per week. But a classified part-time employee would be eligible for health insurance benefits if they worked more than 30 hours per week on a regular basis. In addition to this is essentially what our premiums are, and they do meet what's called the affordability requirement of the Affordable Care Act, which that means that your premiums, that the out-of-pocket premiums that employee has to pay cannot exceed 9.56% of their net income. Well, if you look at the minimum salary of one of the employees, we do meet the definition of the Affordable Care Act. We are potentially looking at 6 employees being added to our health insurance. We have to offer it to them. It doesn't mean that they have to take it. So we actually have a couple of employees who who are not on our insurance plan, even some of our full-time employees, because they're either covered by another type of insurance, such as a spouse, or somewhere else. In addition to that, sick leave, in order to be eligible for sick leave benefits, they would have to work at least 20 hours per week, and they would earn 1.85 hours per pay period, which equals roughly six paid sick days per year. And that would meet primarily our senior citizens program, because we have one classified employee over there who works 30 hours per week, and then we have, I believe it's 4 other part-time classified employees who work 20 hours per week. And this would allow us to stay in compliance with grant requirements. As far as holiday pay, the way that works, of course, is they're a classified part-time employee, meaning they work a regular schedule, and they are classified as part-time. They would receive the hours they would normally be paid for working if that holiday didn't fall on their particular work day. What we are asking for tonight is just to advertise this ordinance, and we would bring this back in January for final adoption.
Any questions by the board?
I have no.
You don't have.
So we would pay half, if they decide to take it, we would pay half and we would pay the other half?
No, so, Mayor and Commissioners, no, they would meet the same coverage requirements that we do for other employees, where we pay 90%, they're responsible for the remaining 10% of the premiums.
Come.
Good.
Commissioner Gaines?
We're good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for Resolution 2018-124, Open Meetings Act.
Second.
Motion second. Anna?
So Resolution 2018-124, this is something we do every year. It's just the city policy for compliance with the New Mexico Opening Meetings Act. It'll state when we publish the agenda, when we meet, how we are supposed to follow procedures for calling a special meeting, emergency meetings, and such. Any questions?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for Resolution 2018-125, approval of Water Department Operations and Maintenance Plan.
Second?
A motion second. White?
Mayor and Commissioners, we presented back in, I believe, October, the emergency response plan. This kind of states the same thing. It's just operation and maintenance. This was one of our findings in our sanitary survey from 2017. They wanted a booklet or an operation and maintenance plan. So the city, myself and Darren went through, and it's a book that they require us to have on our shelf, that just how we operate the system, well fields, going to operations of everything. So the state has approved it. They approved it, I believe, in November 9th, and we're just getting the approval from the board.
Any questions about the board?
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for Resolution 218-126, a menu center board meeting dates in city, observe Martin Luther King Jr. holiday date.
Second.
And motion second. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, with the passage of or potential passage of the Youth Center Board ordinance, we do need to revise our meeting dates. Instead of them being held monthly, we would go to a quarterly, so this would allow us to publish the new dates for those meetings for the Youth Center Board. In addition, we discovered an error on the city observed Martin Luther King Jr. date. It was put in our resolution in 2017 as January 14th, but it's actually needs to be observed on January 21st. So this resolution would satisfy our advertising requirements.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to consider Resolution 2018-127, authorizing the purchase of real property lots 1, 2, and 3, Block 17, East Addition to the City of Lovington.
Second.
And motion second. James?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, as part of our county Veterans Memorial Complex project, we have received, actually the owner of the property, Mr. Ron Humphrey, down here at the corner of Easton Avenue A, has accepted a purchase price of $20,000 per lot. Of course, this would work out with our agreement with Lee County, where we would be receiving 50% of the purchase back.
It'll be about 10,000, so 30, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Any questions about the board? Commissioner Sanchez?
One of them smaller than the other two, isn't it? One lot?
These are actually three individual lots. This is not to scale. This is just for references only. They are 50 by 140 lots.
Well, that's gonna look small for some reason.
It's just how it plotted out.
James, there's no issue from the county regarding our purchasing these lots, is that correct?
No, sir. Actually, Mayor and Commissioners, I've got a meeting with the county manager this week to discuss that, if we need to have any further agreements other than the initial JPA that we have. But there's no anticipated issues with this.
I'm glad to see this project moving forward and hopefully capture all that property. Any other questions, brother?
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we consider accounts payable.
Second.
A motion second, Gary.
Your mayor and commission, in the interest of, because this is an extra long payables list, I was going to discuss everything that's $5,000 or more. But our top expenditure is on the first page, and that was paid to CES. And that was for the IPR treatments here in town. And then our second largest expenditure is the generally recurring expenditure, the Waste Management Authority, which is on the third page, $135,000. But for all of the items that are $5,000 or less, starting on the first page, I'm going to start with the Klein Automation and Electric. Our police evidence facility, that $14,579 was for the surveillance camera system at our new police evidence facility. And then moving below that, of course, the even $5,000 to the Lee County Museum is just our normal quarterly stipend that we give them for their professional services. And then staying on the first page and down to the $12,390, the New Mexico League, that's just an annual combination of fees that we pay as a city to be members of the New Mexico League. And then moving down from there, of course, the P&D Petroleum, the $19,519, that's a full monthly bill for P&D Petroleum, several departments worth. And then as we move down, the next expenditure of over $5,000 is the Ramirez and Sons for $78,266. That's a fee for the Love and Washington Street project. And then as we go down on the first page, we also have the Steel Depot Hobbs. That's where we bought the fencing material from that the city manager was referencing earlier for all of the softball complexes. And then, of course, that very last one, on the first page, 5,443 Cisco West, is a normal expenditure on food products for the senior department. Moving on to the second page, the next item that's over $5,000 is the Benmark Supply Company, the $6,691. That's basically completing buying parts for the sprinkler system with the recreation department. And then as we move down, you'll see the Boyd Brothers for $15,825. That was our purchase of, I want to say it was 12 trees for Chaparral Park. 19 trees for Chaparral Park. They look beautiful, by the way. And I already mentioned the CES. And then the $24,041 with CRI CPAs. This was our final payment to them for assistance that they provided for us working on our DFA cash reconciliation. And then also, we had them help us because of some conversion issues with catch up on a bunch of bank reconciliations as well. Yes, sir.
I've got one right after the Boyd Brothers. One for 10,000 says capers.
Yes, sir.
What's that?
May I turn that over to the police chief?
It's our records management, excuse me, it's our records management system for the police department. It's an annual maintenance contract that we have.
Well, then moving on, I'll go down to the Dana Nepper. Again, we buy a lot of parts and things for our water department with them, and meters, as well as parts for the meters and fire hydrants as well. And then as we move down, the next one is the $59,000 to Elliott and Waldron. I believe that's a quarterly payment, isn't it?
No.
Okay.
If I may, that is for the purchase of those other 2 lots for the memorial complex.
And then if we move to the last page, we have just 2 items that were over the $5,000. The Tom's Plumbing, $7,507. This was to replace water lines and a water heater at a home on Avenue Q Street. And then the last item I'd already mentioned, the second highest expenditure was our standard fees that we pay Waste Management Authority, the $135,000. I'm available if you have any other questions.
Valentine's, it's a little less than 5.
Well, we'll address it. If I remember correctly, the primary expenditures at Valentine's Auto were related to two police vehicles, unit number 7 and number 41. Some standard things with changing, and then there was some repairs to something that related to EMS.
We're good.
Turbo package and change the truck.
How did you know?
It's too cheap, charges about 16,000.
But there's a nice little button he can push.
Commissioner Sanchez?
That's it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that with a Merry Christmas.
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.